Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel and today I'm going to attempt to do a tag video. Once again, as per usual, there might be some ambient noise going on because the weather's nice, people are outside, the dog's outside, there's barking, there's scraping noises, there's lawnmowers, my cat's around, so we'll see how this goes. But the tag I want to do today is a newer tag. It's the high school required reading tag, which should be a fun one, I think. This was originally created by Nicole at Noteworthy Fiction and Alex at Stay at Home Reader. I will link both of their channels in the description so that you can go and watch their stuff because they're great. So yeah, this tag is, as you might imagine, all about books that we were mostly required to read in high school. I want to sort of preface this with a couple of caveats. The first is that I'm almost 40 years old. I'm going to be 40 this year, and so it's been a long time since I was in high school, and my memory is spotty at best of high school. So I do not have a full and complete memory in my head of all of the books that I read in high school, and I've probably forgotten a bunch of them. In fact, I know I've forgotten a bunch of them. There's really only a handful, really only a handful or so that I can really remember because they were memorable for one reason or another. So that's one thing. I think maybe the other caveat that I should provide at the beginning of this tag is that I was in many very, very, very advanced classes for English and literature in high school because I was an extremely advanced reader. Like there was literally, so like we literally had in ninth grade, which was my freshman year of high school, we literally had 3 different classes that we could choose from. There was the regular ninth grade English class. There was the differentiated ninth grade English class, which was the slightly more advanced ninth grade English. And then there was the one that I took, which was actually a 9th and 10th grade condensed English class, which actually combined the curricula of the 9th and 10th grade English classes into 1 year. And I got double credit for it. There was only like maybe 15 kids in that class total. We got 2 years of credit for doing 1 year of work, and we flew through that curriculum. And then after that, I was taking all elective English classes, and they're all quite advanced. After that point, I was taking like AP Lit and stuff like that. So I did not get exactly the same curriculum that everybody else in my school got because it was condensed so much. When I took it, the class that I took condensed it so much that there were some books that everybody else in my class read. In my sort of graduating class, you know, in my sort of 9th grade freshman class, that there were books that they all read, but I didn't because of the class that I was in. It was combined. So that's another thing, is that I had a really weird English curriculum in high school because I was so advanced. Like, not to toot my own horn, I peaked in high school, let's be real, but but like I was taking the really advanced stuff in high school. So I had a somewhat different experience of required reading lists than my peers did at that time. This is the early aughts, late 90s, early aughts. So those are my 2 caveats. So we'll see how well I even remember some of this stuff. So the first prompt is high school crush. Name a book you were assigned in high school and loved at the time. Have you reread it, and did it hold up? Yeah, I mean, there were several books that I really liked that I was required to read in high school. I do still have an old used copy of The Great Gatsby. I really liked Great Gatsby. Obviously, I liked it enough that I own a copy of it to this day, and I have reread it. Slightly more recently. And yeah, I mean, it does hold up. It's a really good book. It's 100 years old this year, of course. It's quite good. I also, I really liked To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I really liked Animal Farm by George Orwell. Yeah, and of course, the Shakespeare plays that we read. Had a good time with those. I've always been a Shakespeare girly, so yeah, I did enjoy a number of the books that I was required to read in high school. The second prompt is gym class. Name a book you were assigned that you hated. Have you or would you give it a second chance? Yeah, I did hate some books that I was forced to read in high school for sure. I think the one that I remember most vividly, actively disliking at the time was I'm pretty sure it was in my AP literature class. This is an advanced placement course using the advanced placement curriculum in the US at the time. And we read, I know it was by Herman Melville. I'm pretty sure what we read was Billy Budd. It was definitely not Moby Dick. We did not read Moby Dick. That's way too big of a book to read for a one semester long class in high school. I'm pretty sure it was Billy Budd. I did not like it. I actively disliked it. I don't even remember exactly why. Again, my memory is real hazy. But I remember that I really did not like it at the time. Would I give it a second chance? Probably. Again, high school was a very long time ago for me. My tastes have changed pretty significantly since high school. And also, I understand things better now than I did when I was 15, 16 years old. I just do. So, yeah, I mean, I would give it a second chance. There might be a point at which I am like, you know what, I'm gonna try my hand at Moby Dick. I might give that a shot sometime, just to see how it goes. But yeah, I remember pretty actively disliking Herman Melville when I was in high school. Question number 3, locker combo. Is there a book you remember having to read but can't actually remember? Several. Yes, actually. The couple that jump to mind immediately that I know for a fact that I read in high school, but I absolutely cannot remember a single thing about them at all, would be I read Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, and also I read Black Elk Speaks. And I could not for the life of you, I could not for the life of me tell you anything at all about those books. But I distinctly remember having read them in high school. I don't know. I have no idea. The fourth prompt is CliffNotes. Was there a book you were supposed to read but didn't? This is another one of those where I'm going to be honest here, I don't remember. I want to say absolutely not. I read every single book that I was assigned in high school. It's possible that I skipped out on one or did, in fact, just use CliffNotes for one of them at some point. But I also, I literally just don't remember. I literally just could not tell you if I did that or not. The fifth prompt is electives. Did you read just for fun? And what books were you reading outside of your assignments? Yes, I read a lot of things just for fun. In high school, I was constantly reading things for fun in high school. And I read pretty widely, I would say, as well in high school. Because I was reading things like Shakespeare in high school for fun. I was also reading things like Jane Austen and Charlotte Bronte just for fun in high school. But I was also reading a lot of adult crime thrillers and mysteries, like contemporary crime thrillers and mysteries. I read a shit ton of Mary Higgins Clark books in high school. I also was reading some more romance and romance adjacent stuff in high school, Like, I also read a shit ton of Danielle Steele in high school. I was reading, like, these are adult novels, novels aimed at adults. I was also reading some YA stuff, mostly like historical fiction and fairy tale-esque stuff. So like Beauty by Robin McKinley was one of my favorite books in high school. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And yeah, so like stuff like this. I was also reading Tolkien in high school. High school is when I got into Lord of the Rings, really big. So I was doing that. I was also reading some Terry Pratchett Discworld stuff in high school. That's about the time I started reading Terry Pratchett for the first time, was high school. So like, actually, I read a lot of things in high school. There's a lot of stuff that I was reading in high school. I was voracious. I was a voracious reader in high school. In fact, I occasionally got into trouble in high school for reading in class when I was supposed to be like paying attention to the teacher. Because that's the kind of thing that I did. That's what I got in trouble for in high school, was like reading when I was actually supposed to be like listening to the teacher lecture. That was the thing that I did. The sixth prompt is Rebound. What book would you replace from the typical assigned reading list? Yeah, this is a question where this is really tricky for me to answer because A, I can't remember a whole lot of my assigned reading lists, and B, I did not do the typical assigned reading list in high school. I was very advanced. I was taking a lot of weird electives. I didn't have the whole normal curriculum that all of my peers did, so I'm not even sure I could tell you what the quote-unquote standard required reading list was for my age at the time that I was doing it, because I was doing different things. So I don't know. I think in general, that school reading curricula should be updated regularly and kept up to date, because I think one of the best ways to get kids interested in reading is to make sure that there are at least some books on the required reading list that will work for them, right? That will actually, that might actually manage to capture them. And I think that could potentially look different for every generation of kids. And as I said, it's been a long time since I've been in high school, so I don't know what the kids these days are into necessarily. But, you know, I think educators, teachers, education specialists, people like that are generally, in my experience, quite well informed about things like that, and I would hope that they would have a lot of leeway in developing curricula and changing curricula over time. That's, I guess, my answer to that. Prompt number 7, teacher's pet. What book got you excited about reading for class? I mean, several books got me excited about reading for class. I really liked, as I said, I really liked Shakespeare. I really liked talking about Shakespeare, to the extent that when one of the first electives that I took in high school was a Shakespeare class where we read multiple plays of Shakespeare in one semester and focused primarily on Shakespeare. And it was a really great class. I loved it. That was, Shakespeare really got me excited. But yeah, I was also really into, as I said, Orwell. I really liked Animal Farm. I really liked dystopian stuff when I was in high school. I still do really like dystopian stuff. I also remember really liking Lord of the Flies by William Goldman, which is another classic dystopian novel. So yeah, that stuff got me excited. Also, another thing that got me excited about reading for class was one time in 8th grade, so this is actually a little bit before high school, I was still in middle school at this time, my English teacher one day brought in a cart full of books, I think primarily from her own personal library, and she let all of us pick a book off of that cart to read and do like a book report on. And that got me really excited. That was one of my favorite things that I ever did in any English class, honestly. I even remember exactly what book I read. It was The Lost World by Michael Crichton. This was, again, like 1998. This is like right around the time The Lost World, the movie, was coming out. And I freaking love the Jurassic Park movies. When I was a kid, like, and that was my thing. I was a dinosaur girly. So I saw The Lost World on that cart, and I was like, that's it. That's the one. So I did that, loved it, had a great time doing that. So that kind of thing was really fun. I enjoyed the heck out of that. Another thing that got me really excited about reading in 9th grade English, I was also a theater girly. I did theater in high school, and one of the things that we did in my 9th grade English class was we acted out scenes from Romeo and Juliet. We acted out scenes from it because my teacher was a very good English teacher, and she realized that, like, one of the best ways to engage with Shakespeare is to see it performed, right? We watched several film adaptations of the plays that we were reading, and also often to perform it yourself, because, like, if you read the words aloud, sometimes that makes it even easier to say. And I was a theater girly anyway. I thought it was great. It was super fun. I had a great time doing that. So really, a lot of the things that got me excited about reading for class were like activities like that were a little bit outside the norm. That was the stuff that got me really excited about reading. Prompt number 8. Study hall. What was the most difficult book you read in high school? I.e. the one that you spent the most time studying. This is another one that I'm not sure I can really answer because I don't remember. I just don't remember. I don't remember how much time I spent on any given book, really. I will say, I don't actually think I have a copy of Antigone itself, but I do have this copy of Oedipus the King. I think this is just Oedipus. Yeah, this is just Oedipus. But I think, like, the Greek stuff that I read, the classics, the classical stuff that I did in high school was probably some of the tougher stuff that I did. We read Sophocles. I did read the Odyssey. I don't think I ever read the Iliad or the Aeneid in high school. I know for a fact we read the Odyssey. But I don't think we did either the Iliad or the Aeneid. But, yes. And I do think the play that I spent the most time studying was probably Antigone, because I played Antigone in a production of it that my high school put on in my junior year of high school. I played Antigone, so I spent a shit ton of time studying that play because I played her. So that was a really fun experience. But yeah, that definitely was the book, arguably, that I spent the most time studying, because I had to memorize that shit. So yeah, and then the 9th prompt is nails on a chalkboard. What was the book that made you groan when you found out you'd have to read it again? I don't know that I ever had to do a reread. I'm not sure that I ever did any repeats in high school. I don't think there was much that got repeated. Again, I don't recall. Nothing sticks out at me. I don't think I had many repeats. Again, I had a really weird curriculum in high school. So, like, my curriculum was actually pretty truncated, and I skipped some of the books that a lot of my peers had to read. So I don't know that I had any repeats, really. None that stand out in my memory, anyway. And number 10 is extra credit. What book should be added to every high school reading list? Again, I think this sort of goes back to the one about, like, which book would you replace from the reading list. I couldn't name a specific book that I think would be good, because I am no longer a teenager, and I don't really know what the teenagers of today are into, but, like, I feel like there's a good balance to be struck between reading the classics but also making sure that you're letting kids read more contemporary things that they might find more relatable, because, again, I think sometimes sometimes, in some cases, I do think that the high school reading curriculum can be off-putting, even to kids who were like me and wanted to read and were into reading, but weren't really vibing with a lot of the books that were on the required reading lists in high school. And I think that there is a way to do this that, again, balances the classics and you know, really teaching kids to do critical analysis, and also allowing them to, you know, read some stuff that they can hopefully potentially get really into and relate to and really enjoy. And that really should be the goal of it, really, ultimately, right? I think if a kid is reading, then that's always a net positive, pretty much. There are very few instances when I can think of where a kid reading something would be, I would consider bad. I think, you know, if anything that gets kids excited about reading is pretty much going to be a good thing in my book. So yeah, I couldn't say that I could name like any specific book that I think should be added that isn't already on the required reading lists. But I do think there is a space there where, you know, we can allow for kids to explore their own taste in books and find things that work for them that they really can enjoy. So yeah, that's that. The 11th prompt is the BFF's prompt. It's to tag some people. Again, I'm really bad at tagging people. Honestly, I always feel like nobody wants to get tagged by me. I don't want to. Nobody wants to see their name pop up in the description of one of my videos on a tag. And also, I feel like probably everybody who I would want to tag probably has already done this or has already been tagged in it and doesn't need me to tag them. So if you're watching this video and you want to do it, do this tag by all means. I want to see what kinds of books you were reading in high school and what stuck with you and what didn't. Yeah, again, I wish I could remember more of the books that I read in high school. My memory is really terrible, and it was a long time ago, and I've read many, many, many books since then, so sometimes it's really hard for me to remember stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you this time. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what were some of your favorite and least favorite books that you were forced to read in high school. And yeah, other than that, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.